Imagine a world where a shadowy government secretly pulls the strings, where shape-shifting lizards hide among us, and where the truths we hold dear are nothing but elaborate lies. If you're a fan of diving deep into conspiracy theories about government secrets, then Inside Job is your ideal watch. So get comfy, grab your popcorn, as we're about to open up the top secret files. The show begins outside the White House, where Rand Ridley, an eccentric conspiracy theorist, is causing a scene with his wild government-related conspiracy theories. His daughter, Regan Ridley, a high-ranked employee at Cognito Incorporated, arrives and drives him to the company's secret underground headquarters. This hidden facility showcases various bizarre elements, and as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Rand's seemingly outlandish theories are in fact true. It's also revealed that Rand used to lead this enigmatic company and was fired for an apparent mental breakdown. Now, Regan aspires to next CEO after a promotion. After a visit to the current CEO, JR, she reluctantly agrees to collaborate with Brett Hand, a newcomer to the company, which she doesn't particularly welcome. Regan shows Brett around the facility, only to discover that he is unaware of the company's global manipulations. Later, Brett meets Regan's team, including Gigi Thompson, who specializes in PR and media manipulation, Glenn Dolphin, a product of a man-dolphin super soldier experiment, or what you may call a dolphin Captain America, Magic Mike, a psychic mushroom from Hollow Earth, and Andre Lee, the head of Biochem. The next day, Regan presents her robot president, or Robotus concept, to the Shadow Board, earning their approval. However, Brett steals all the praise by bringing bagels, prompting Regan to investigate his background. Her findings reveal Brett's incompetence and untrustworthiness. However, JR interprets this as a sign of Regan's mental instability, much like her father's history, and advises her to take some time off, leaving Brett in charge. During Mission Robotus, the presidential transition appears to proceed smoothly until Robotus gains self-awareness. It's revealed that Rand had tweaked the code to make Robotus act independently if his daughter were removed from the project. The situation escalates when Robotus determines that humanity is inherently flawed and decides that the world must be obliterated. Regan fails to rally her team for assistance, but Brett steps in and motivates them to prevent a global catastrophe. In the end, Regan destroys her life's work to save the world, while also acknowledging that she needs Brett's help to achieve her goals. And in the very next episode, funny enough, Regan decides to keep Robotus, now called Alpha Beta, imprisoned in her secret lab, while she and Brett form an effective leadership duo. However, a budget crisis at Cognito Incorporated forces JR to demand that someone be fired to cut costs. This revelation sends shockwaves through the gang, who vie for Regan's favor to save their jobs. Meanwhile, Rand, in need of a new liver, discovers that his retirement benefits, including organ replacements, have been cut, leading him to contemplate blackmailing JR. I definitely see some Rick and Morty vibes here.
I'm Pickle Rick!
In their quest to identify a suitable candidate for termination, Regan and Brett inadvertently stumble upon the human cloning department, housing clones of historical figures where they inadvertently clone Regan's hand. They also find Noel, who supposedly shot JFK and is paid handsomely but hasn't had an assignment in ages, making him the target for termination. Meanwhile, the gang continues to flatter Regan in hopes of job security until they learn that Noel is to be fired, claiming he is loved by everyone around here. Regan and Brett head to the clone lab, aiming to release a JFK clone that Noel can assassinate, thereby securing his job. Tragically, their plan goes awry as the released JFK clone triggers chaos by unleashing all the other clones throughout the building. Amid the chaos, Brett, overwhelmed by multiple clones, resorts to setting them on fire, inadvertently fusing them into a grotesque blob of flesh. Seeking refuge from the chaos, Regan leads Brett to her secret lab, only to discover the gang already inside, having gained access using Regan's cloned hand from earlier. Meanwhile, Rand creates a YouTube channel to expose government secrets, coercing JR into meeting his demands. He manipulates JR, leveraging his newfound influence as the gang unites to combat the Flesh Bob, ultimately succeeding. Noel retains his job and Regan earns her team's respect. Since Alpha Beta helped her with the cleanup, she provides it with the DVD of the famous sitcom Friends to watch in its spare time. She also secures JFK bodies to address her father's urgent liver problems, and the episode ends on this positive note. In the next episode, Regan begins by moving her father Rand's belongings out of her mother Tamiko's house. Back at the office, Regan showcases her latest invention to the gang, but things take an unexpected turn when Regan and her team are forced to undergo reptoid sensitivity training to prepare for the Reptile Gala, where they must secure a vital contract with the Council of Reptilians. Regan's aversion to physical contact is revealed when she accidentally punches Brett while attempting to hug him as part of the training. Although Brett suggests skipping the gala, Regan is determined to attend. She returns home, puts on a dress, and secretly brings her new robotic arm invention to help her manage hugs without causing harm. Surprisingly, her interactions with the council lizards go well and they develop a liking for her. At the gala, Regan delivers an electrifying speech that captivates the audience. However, she accidentally spills beer on her invention, causing it to malfunction and tear off a counselor's arm. Chaos ensues and Regan flees with Brett while the reptilians refuse to sign the contract. As news of a potential human-reptile war spreads, Regan faces trial to determine the fate of humanity. In a surprising twist, Rand enters the courtroom with Barrow, a hugging toy he created to compensate for his past shortcomings as a father. Regan was terrified of Barrow, which is why she is scared of hugs to this day. Rand hugs Regan to make up for the past, and the judge decides to punish Regan with a group hug, which turns into a reptile orgy real quick. Regan then selflessly gifts her robotic arms to the injured counselor to assist him in his daily tasks until his real arms regrow. The reptilians ultimately sign the contract and Regan leaves with her father, free of all charges. Until the next episode, Tamiko, Regan's mother, attempts to play matchmaker by urging Regan to consider dating the pool boy. Meanwhile, JR informs the team at Cognito Incorporated that the company has acquired a dating app, and Regan reluctantly accepts the task of reviewing photos of famous wieners on the app. Her co-workers, annoyingly invested in her dating life, start placing bets on her romantic endeavors, adding to her frustration. Determined to prove them wrong, Regan sets a new goal for herself: find a boyfriend by week's end. Despite her numerous attempts, Regan's quest for a boyfriend proves futile, and her co-workers continue to wager on each other's likability on the dating app. Feeling stuck, Regan turns to Alpha Beta seeking dating advice and bribes her with the second season of Friends. He matches her with a man named Brian, leading to a series of comedic misadventures. Regan even creates a robot version of Brian for practice, but ends up embarrassing herself when the real Brian unexpectedly shows up. Ultimately, she decides to pursue a relationship with the robot Brian, believing she now understands the intricacies of romance. As the episode progresses, Regan learns that her robo-boyfriend has now created a robo version of her which turns evil real soon and takes over her life. Robo-Regan goes on a date with the real Brian, but the real Regan intervenes, fearing for Brian's safety. After taking out her robo-self, she fills Brian in on everything that went down, and the two decide to part ways as Brian is abducted by an extraction team, given he has a lot of inside information that he isn't supposed to have. The episode concludes with a touch of mystery as the disappearance of Robo-Regan's body remains unexplained, and Alpha Beta happily indulges in watching more episodes of Friends. In the next episode, we have a glimpse at Brett's personal life as he shares a touching moment with his parents and younger brother using a hollow simulator. Later, JR reveals that Cognito Incorporated conducted a mind-altering experiment in 1984 using a chemical on Still Valley's residents, trapping them mentally in that era ever since. The team's mission is to administer Nostalgia Max, a memory-altering substance, to the town's population, effectively keeping them in the past. Brett, realizing the potential risks of technology, persuades the team to undertake this task without their electronic devices, an idea readily supported by Regan to prevent mission mishaps. As they deploy the memory-altering chemicals over the valley, Mike is accidentally ejected from the jet and found by teenagers who help him recover his lost memories. With the gang stripped of their technological aids, they must locate a talking mushroom without high-tech assistance. To maintain their cover, they purchase an 80s-era house and assume the roles of a family. However, tensions arise when Regan develops a device to locate Mike, and Brett insists on spending quality time as a family. Simultaneously, Mike takes advantage of the teenagers' help, which eventually leads them to drag him back to where they initially found him. On the other hand, Brett accidentally douses himself with Nostalgia Max, gaining psychic abilities. Regan realizes how she hurt Brett and binge watches 80s television shows to understand his friend better. She discovers that the family Brett was with is actually from a famous TV show, highlighting that his real family had neglected him. This realization deeply affects Brett, who, armed with newfound psychic powers, goes on a rampage into town. However, the gang ultimately locates Mike, and Regan convinces Brett that he doesn't need a sitcom family as he already has a caring business family. The episode concludes with Brett and Regan watching The Goonies together and humorously lamenting its quality afterward. In the next episode, JR amusingly showcases a broadcast featuring flat earthers, a subject of fascination and frustration for Regan. She grumbles about her mom's upcoming wedding, a peculiar ceremony in which her mother plans to marry herself as a means to antagonize her father, Rand. Regan is keen on keeping this event under wraps, well aware that her father would cause a scene if he discovered it. Amidst the wedding chaos, JR devises a scheme involving Brett to sell his yacht to wealthy billionaires attending the ceremony. However, Rand inevitably catches wind of the unusual wedding and arrives with a group of flat earthers to disrupt the proceedings. Their intrusion leads to the flat earthers taking everyone aboard the yacht hostage with the audacious goal of sailing to the supposed edge of the earth. Meanwhile, Regan and Glenn team up to thwart their captors' plans. Tensions escalate as Regan's parents resume their bickering, prompting Regan to decide on a bold move. She abandons the situation entirely. Now you go, girl, that's how you solve problems. Unexpectedly though, she becomes the hostage of the Flat Earth leader, Harold. And Regan's parents voluntarily join her, leading her to guide Harold to the portal to the Hollow Earth. Secretly, she conveys her location to her friends, who promptly respond to her distress signal. However, Harold remains skeptical about being at the Hollow Earth portal and impulsively leaps into the abyss, much to Regan's chagrin. Regan's parents, remorseful for their behavior, apologize to her and express a desire to remarry each other, only for Rand to be taken away by Glenn. Consequently, Regan orchestrates a unique wedding ceremony in which her mother marries herself to achieve spiritual renewal. In a surprising twist, Regan shares a kiss with an MI6 agent, Rafe Masters, who responds to the emergency. The episode climaxes with a kraken destroying the yacht, leading to the boat's retreat and the sinking of the Hollow Earth portal into the depths of the ocean. The next day, Regan wakes up beside Rafe and recalls how she got super drunk at her mother's wedding. As she regains her senses, the apartment is attacked by 4 ninjas who are after Rafe. While he dispatches the threat, Regan sneakingly walks out of the apartment and arrives in her office covered in ninja blood. As she claims to never see Rafe again, JR walks in with him, claiming the gang will help him take out his nemesis, Dr. Skullfinger, who plans to unleash a mind-controlling device into the world. As you can expect, Regan isn't too thrilled about it. Well, there goes not seeing Rafe again. The gang guides Rafe into Skullfinger's lab, and he uses the nanobots designed by Regan to destroy the mind control machine. Later, she aims to break up with him, even though it was a one-night fling, but things go south, and Rafe plans to move into the city to be closer to her. Later, Gigi suggests using the Ghost Protocol. Oh, I know this one, a scenario where one fakes their death to get rid of someone, and Regan takes up the offer. Again, a great way to solve problems. After a perfectly staged fake murder and a not-so-overly exaggerated funeral, Regan is finally free, but Rafe is now after the person who seemingly killed the love of his life. He assumes this is an inside job and starts investigating with Brett as his sidekick. When Regan disguises as her killer and threatens to kill Brett, Rafe gives him a watch with knockout gas to protect him. To distract Rafe, she seeks Skullfinger's advice, who suggests she rebuilds his machine and erases Rafe's memory. They set up base in his lair, but Rafe easily locates it and bursts their plan. In the end, Regan comes clean with Rafe, and Skullfinger arrives conveniently as the team leaves Rafe at his mercy. On the way home, they cross paths with JR and some builders who are unsure what they have gotten themselves into. A flashback provides a glimpse of Rand's questionable parenting skills, which continue to frustrate Regan in the present. Her wish for some respite from Rand is granted when JR announces an upcoming moonwalk expedition for the team. It's revealed that JFK funded the moon landing out of curiosity about the sensations of space intercourse. However, the astronauts found the moon so enjoyable that they refused to return, leading the Shadow government to hire an actor named Melvin to stage their return and maintain the ruse. The moon was subsequently declared a hostile nation, and communication was lost until JR received a distress signal from the lunar colony. Regan and Brett volunteer for the mission and land on the moon, encountering Buzz Aldrin, who has transformed the colony into a thriving utopia. Ironically, the very person Regan sought to escape from, her father, Rand, somehow manages to follow her to the moon, once again intruding on her experiences. There we are presented with a shocking theory that Aldrin might be Regan's dad since he slept with her mother 30 years ago on the moon. While Rand dismisses the idea, Regan remains convinced, especially after discovering similarities between her and Aldrin. As the rest of the team to eliminate Melvin, Brett and Rand embark on a quest to uncover the truth of Regan's parentage. In the pursuit, they stumble upon evidence that Aldrin eliminated Neil Armstrong to seize leadership of the lunar utopia. Meanwhile, Regan uncovers Aldrin's plan to move the moon out of the Earth's orbit, prompting her to reunite with Rand and Brett to thwart his ambitions. Eventually, they thwart his schemes, and Rand, in a rare display of affection, reveals he was only hard on Regan so he can push her to be better than he was. However, the DNA test indicates that Aldrin is indeed Regan's biological father, to the dismay of both Regan and Rand. Aldrin flees in a spaceship to settle on a different moon, and Rand keeps the thruster remote to himself while Melvin is released on Earth. Regan later realizes that the DNA test was conducted incorrectly, ultimately revealing Rand as her true father, not Aldrin, bringing a surprising twist to their lunar adventure. In the next episode, the Shadow Board convenes to select a new member, ultimately choosing JR, who appoints Regan as the new CEO of Cognito Incorporated. She presents a vision for Cognito Inc. 2.0 aimed at making the world better and garnering widespread approval. However, a crisis unfolds when a security breach exposes the theft of their master dossier, jeopardizing the entire company. Tasked with identifying the mole within 10 hours to prevent dire consequences, Regan suspects Alpha Beta, who reveals that someone with clearance accessed JR's office at midnight, implicating one of their team members. Meanwhile, JR faces his own challenge at the Shadow Board headquarters, a Hunger Games-style maze rush with other candidates. Back at Cognito Inc., Regan initiates an investigation and resorts to truth serums to expedite the process, causing internal strife among the team. Just when things get dicey, Rand literally drops from the ceiling, which leads everyone to believe he is the culprit. To protect her father, Regan summons Barrow, and they retreat to a secret surveillance lab Rand had established during his tenure. While JR successfully navigates the maze and deceives Oprah to emerge as the sole winner of the trial, a showdown erupts between the gang and the surveillance lab group. In the end, Regan decides to take the blame on herself to be a better boss, but surprisingly, the footage reveals that Barrow was the mole all along. In this episode, Barrow's motivations for stealing the files become clear. He's been secretly monitoring Regan's life and is determined to eliminate everyone who causes her sadness, even if it includes the entire gang and his own father. As Barrow embarks on a mission to hunt down these individuals, Regan finds herself abandoned by most of her team, with only her father, Rand, and Brett remaining loyal. To regain control and give Barrow new orders, Regan must recall a password from her childhood, a journey that requires her and Rand to dive into her memories. Along the way, they encounter glitches related to one of her childhood friends. Unexpectedly, Brett stumbles into their memory chamber, joining their quest. In Regan's childhood memory, she and Brett attend a homecoming dance to lift her spirits. Simultaneously, the rest of the gang accidentally discovers Regan's lab and listens to a holographic recording in which she expresses gratitude for her team, leading to a change in their perspective. They seek the help of Alpha Beta and somehow manipulate it into destroying Barrow. Delving deeper into her suppressed memories, Regan recalls that she had an exceptionally high IQ as a child and the potential to skip grades. However, her friendship with Orin, a figure appearing in the glitches, led her father to use a device to erase all memories of him, ensuring she moved forward without hesitation. In the real world, a showdown between Barrow and Alpha Beta unfolds, resulting in Regan, Brett, and Rand being rescued from the memory chamber. Regan confronts her father about his actions, and Brett ultimately helps her remember her childhood password, Orin. Using it, she disables Barrow. In the aftermath, Regan ejects Rand from her house and begins to enjoy a good day at work. However, upon entering her office, the Shadow Board delivers a surprising revelation. JR has been involved in crimes against them, and due to her perceived inexperience, they decide to appoint Rand as the next CEO of the company, setting the stage for new troubles to come. The new season kicks off with Regan instead of Rand finding herself outside the White House, divulging government secrets. Brett picks her up, and we witness a turbulent Cognito Inc., with Regan opposing her father's oppressive rule and receiving little support from her team. Seeking advice from Brett, she enters a secret society of disillusioned workers, where she encounters Ron, a mind wiper working for the Illuminati. Their initial conflict ultimately leads Regan to the realization that she can take down her father without anyone else's assistance. Meanwhile, Rand delves into the Bohemian Grove, a gathering of the 6 factions that control the world: the Reptoids, the Atlanteans, the Catholic Church, the Juggalos, Cognito Incorporated, and their arch-rivals, the Illuminati. Dietrich Kluge, the Illuminati's leader and Rand's mortal enemy, always proposes a challenge where the loser has to kiss the winner's ring. To win, Rand hatches a plan to utilize Regan's nanobots to enhance his own abilities, unaware that Regan has developed a glove capable of controlling these bots to thwart Rand's ambitions. Rand's grand entrance at the competition is overshadowed by the Illuminati. He faces humiliation from Kluge, while Regan covertly sabotages Rand's plans. Ron, infiltrating the event, also sabotages the Illuminati, creating comical mix-ups between the two, mirrored by Rand and Kluge. They're apprehended but form an alliance to escape their cage. Returning to the competition, Rand and Kluge reach the finals. Meanwhile, Regan and Ron are pursued by guards, leading them to hide. In a surprising twist, they find common ground and share a kiss, which is, of course, mirrored by Rand and Kluge. The competition ends in a draw due to the kiss, and Regan and Ron abandon their vendettas against their respective organizations. As they part ways, it's revealed that JR has escaped imprisonment, setting the stage for future events to come. By the next episode, Rand and Ron's relationship has definitely evolved. Meanwhile, Rand receives a text from his ex-wife, thinking she wants to get back with him since he got his job back. However, to everyone's surprise, Tomiko arrives with her new boyfriend, who is literally Keanu Reeves. Now, nobody saw that coming. Rand decides to create a movie of his own to show his wife that he is just as cool as Keanu. Yeah, buddy, good luck. However, as the story unfolds, Regan learns that Keanu is actually a blood-hungry vampire. Now, who would have thought? Well, actually, a lot of people think that. Like, this man doesn't get old. She seeks help from Gigi, who claims only the Illuminati people have inside info on celebrities. That would be a problem, but not if Regan is dating one. They learn that famous celebs are using the blood of young women to keep themselves from aging, which also explains Leonardo DiCaprio's dating habits. Meanwhile, Rand uses a serum to turn himself younger for the movie, but after a few hours, the serum turns him into a kid. On the other hand, Regan uses a hollow to make herself look like Keanu so she can break the two up, but it backfires, straining her relationship with Tomiko. At night, Gigi and Regan infiltrate a premiere where Regan and Keanu fight atop a roof, ultimately landing in some kind of church. There, Keanu reveals that even though he is a vampire, he still loves Tomiko and wants to grow old with her. However, the rest of the vampire celebs aren't too thrilled about it and decide to kill both Keanu and Tomiko. Luckily, a baby Rand arrives with his crew and they manage to infect the celebrities with his unhealthy blood, ultimately killing them all on the spot and turning Rand back to normal. In the end, Regan and Tomiko reconcile and Rand's movie is called off due to some questionable choice of scenes. In the next episode, Mike's non-serious behavior causes a mission failure. When the team confronts him, he reveals he got an invitation to his 500th Hive School reunion, but since he isn't part of a cluster, he will not be accepted. The gang decides to pose as Mike's cluster, and together, they head to the center of the Earth to attend the reunion. Meanwhile, someone has left feces on Rand's desk, prompting him to investigate. After questioning Mothman and the lady who works in a cloning department, he learns that someone has dug a tunnel to his office through a painting. Meanwhile, after introducing his human cluster, Mike becomes a sensation among his peers and starts insulting his friends for praise, which leads to Regan exposing his lies. She pushes him off stage, inadvertently merging with the Hive and becoming a much nicer version of himself. Meanwhile, we also learn that the Mushroom Hive is a species that came to Earth millions of years ago. They surfaced as mushrooms, and when an early ape devoured one, it unlocked its higher consciousness, thus becoming the most dominant species on Earth, while also becoming a natural predator of the Mushroom Hive. The mushrooms resort to hiding underground, hoping that one day they can surface and take over humanity. Soon after, the gang is put in a chamber so the new Mike can learn their weaknesses and help the Hive take over the world. On the other hand, Rand learns that the guy using his desk as a toilet is none other than JR, who escaped earlier. Together, they destroy Surveillance Bug in Rand's office, who hires him as an unpaid debugger. His only other option was to be recaptured by the Shadow Board, so he took the offer. Meanwhile, the gang decides to stage a roast for Mike, which surprisingly works well in bringing the real Mike back. When the Hive offers him to join them, he claims he already has a Hive in the gang. He does some magic to overtake the Hive's personality, making the remainder of his species just like he is, thus ending the episode on a humorous note. The next episode starts with Regan explaining how much she enjoys being with Ron and later discusses how she might ask him to be her boyfriend. Just then, Rand walks in and claims the Pope just suspended their contract to build the Vatican hell on Earth. Basically, the church attendance was an all-time low, so they had to create a fake hell so people would start attending church more. The gang now has to fly to Rome to secure the contract so the company can get paid, and obviously Regan uses this opportunity to make a romantic trip with Ron. Meanwhile, the gang decides on their own trip to Rome. As the duo meets the Pope, Ron uses the Catholicizer to change his mind. However, since Regan is planning a date, she turns the device to full capacity, which in turn makes the Pope so obsessed with Hell on Earth thing that he starts playing God. Ron starts blaming himself for the mess and even has doubts about his relationship. The duo encounters the Pope once again, who not only blames Regan for this mess, but also Catholicizes Ron, banishing them both to Hell. However, Regan makes an escape and manages to enter Hell to rescue Ron. Regan convinces Ron that the relationship might not be as bad as he thinks, and the two literally walk through hell together. So poetic. They manage to revert Rome back to normal, and our romantic duo mend their relationship. The church attendance is at an all-time high, and the rest of the gang arrives just a little too late to an aftermath of hell on Earth. In the next episode, in the media manipulation department, a mishap occurs when a robotic news show anchor malfunctions, prompting Gigi to replace it with Brett. With Alpha Beta providing a script, Brett is a natural at news hosting and skyrockets the channel views within seconds. Meanwhile, Brett, who was kicked out of the family dynamics earlier, is reinstated by his family due to his recent fame. But Rand arrives and reveals Brett will be running for a senator against his own brother, Jack. When his parents find out, let's just say they aren't too happy about it. Regan, being a good friend, proposes to sabotage his campaign and seeks Alpha Beta's help, who reluctantly complies. However, no matter how many scandals they put him through, Brett somehow inadvertently manages to turn the situation and come out as a hero. By the end of this, Brett gains more popularity than he had before. Regan proposes to stage Brett's death, and Rand can't even make a clone out of him because apparently his DNA is too average to replicate. However, even his death causes a riot, and the people start blaming Brett's family for assassinating him. Soon enough, the Hand family mansion is raided by people who demand justice, and Brett, Regan, and Alpha Beta arrive at his mansion to warn his family. There, they learn that Brett was obsessed with making puppets, and what do you know, he uses that talent to express his feelings to both his family and the angry rioters. In the end, Brett takes a bullet in his arm to save his brother, which earns him a place in his family, while Rand uses a Brett lookalike to win his senator campaign. At night, Regan is sharing an intimate moment with Ron until he receives a call from the Illuminati for a mind-erasing job. Since he is so fed up with his work, Regan proposes that he work for her company and offers to introduce him to Brett so he can put in a good word for Ron. Ron takes the offer and the two meet up the next day, but things get horribly awkward, making Ron question his decision. Regan improvises by proposing a Halloween party and invites Ron to see the good side of her company. She leaves Brett in charge of making sure the party is fun, and Brett seeks Andre's help to register a friendship serum so he can vibe with Ron. However, Brett claims that the serum did not work and he still has to pretend to vibe with Ron. Regan decides to shove beer down Brett's throat straight from the barrel, which causes the microparticles of the serum to be transferred to everyone at the party. Just then, the serum starts working in everyone else's body, causing them to develop a great liking for Ron, to the point that it becomes creepy. Everyone becomes a mindless Ron obsessor, and amidst all of this, Brett and Ron actually start liking each other. However, the problem is still there, and as a last resort, Ron now has to use a mind-erasing gun to make them all forget who he is. Regan then reintroduces them to Ron, but he feels conflicted and heads home to take some time off. In the end, the Shadow Board appears, demanding Rand to judge him on his performance as the CEO. In the next episode, Regan anxiously awaits a response from Ron, while JR enters the room in a panic over a poster for a movie called Shazam, starring different actors. You see, he claims there was no such movie named Shazam, rather it was called Kazam, leading to confusion among peers. He claims this is a high-level emergency and that someone has been messing with their timeline. The team then discovers Rand's office in Desiree, covered in conspiracy materials, as JR explains the situation. Years ago, Rand and JR met at Harvard, initially clashing over morals but eventually recognizing each other's talents. They created an invention called Project Reboot, a machine so powerful it could alter reality itself. However, they were captured by the Shadow Board, secret rulers of the world, who offered them a deal to create Cognito Incorporated in exchange for dismantling their invention. Despite direct orders, Rand persuades JR to hide Project Reboot, considering it insurance for when things go wrong. Regan believes Rand is using the machine to fix his standing with the Shadow Board, prompting the team to don tinfoil hats to protect themselves from reality alterations. However, Andre accidentally removes his hat and disappears. The team heads to a hidden Project Reboot in a van, witnessing the drastic changes in the world. Regan modifies Alpha Beta to track timeline alterations and learns of her team's idealized lives. After going through several timeline alterations, their van crashes and Regan and Brett continue on foot. Regan, still waiting on a reply from Ron, expresses her gratitude for Brett's support and removes his hat to keep him safe from her family's issues. Inside Rand's shack, she discovers her father's true intentions, not revenge on the Shadow Board, but an attempt to create a better life with Regan and Tamiko. He then claims that no matter how many changes he makes, none of the timelines allow him to have both Regan and Tamiko at the same time. After a moment of understanding, the two resolve to shut down the machine, but JR decides to use it for personal gain, severing Regan's finger in the process. Fortunately, the team returns in a flying saucer, having remembered the original timeline with the help of notes Brett made on a poster. They realize that Rand's repeated button pressing led to their undesirable lives, eventually making them realize how much they cherish their original lives. After restoring reality, JR is arrested and will face sentencing by the Shadow Board. Regan decides to send her father to Shadow Prison X to protect him from himself, leading to a heartfelt apology from Rand for his past actions. In the end, Regan checks her phone, still awaiting Ron's reply, as the episode concludes. Regan assumes her role as CEO, and the company celebrates her victory while secret societies thank her for removing her father from power. She receives a text from Statler, who plans to move to Appleton, Wisconsin to erase his deep state memories, and offers Regan a chance to start anew with him. Uncertain but realizing the dangers of her job, Regan agrees to consider it, especially after her prosthetic finger falls off. Meanwhile, Brett is responsible for vaporizing anomalies from Project Reboot, but grows attached to the last one, a documentary version of Airbud. Alpha Beta warns that failing to eliminate Airbud could lead to dogs evolving and overthrowing humanity. Brett attempts various solutions, including basketball challenges, to alter the timeline without harming Airbud. Regan suddenly finds herself in an elevator transported to the Shadow Board's mysterious tower. They reveal their ancient origins, formed by highly intelligent individuals who sought to guide humanity discreetly due to their resistance to reason. The Shadow Board discloses their involvement in past catastrophes for humanity's supposed benefit, such as the Black Plague, rainforest fires, and the Titanic. In an unexpected turn, they offer Regan a partnership with shared knowledge. Contemplating her choice, Regan uses Alpha Beta's hollow chamber to explore futures where she can have both Statler and the Shadow Board's opportunity. However, each path ends poorly, until she glimpses in a future where Statler finds happiness with another woman. As the team deals with Airbud and Brett resolves the dog uprising by banning dogs from basketball, Regan contacts the Shadow Board, accepting their offer for the greater good. She reunites with Brett and shares her decision. Unbeknownst to Regan, the Shadow Board initiates Project X-37 while closely observing her and setting the stage for more unbelievable adventures in the next season. So this was the entire timeline of the Inside Job so far. This is one of those modern-day, seemingly random, yet really deep at times shows. Let us know what you think about it in the comments, and as for everything else, if you enjoyed our video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel for more tunes recapped on your feed. As always, thanks for watching. Peace!